What we're witnessing week in, week out from Declan Rice, I think it's freakish. You are getting a player that is guaranteed 90 minutes, 3 times a week from August to May, constantly running up and down the pitch. There isn't a single skill, attribute, nothing that he lacks, in my opinion. He's always good for a goal. He scans the game. His awareness is unbelievable. Tracking back, his decision-making flawless. Our top assister in the league. Constantly.
He takes corners, that's why.
The best set piece. The best set piece.
Matthew, how are we feeling on the back of the results against Chelsea? Big London derby, tough place to go. They were down to 10 men. How are you feeling?
A little bit flat. A little bit flat, I would say. The thing is with Arsenal is I'm going into every game expecting a win now. So then when it doesn't happen, it's really depleting, I'd say. I feel depleted. I think that, look, we're 13 games in now, right? And Arsenal, I think, have done enough to show the rest of the footballing world that we are the team to beat. I think anyone that sort of half knows what they're talking about would agree with that. 20 games in all competition, we've lost one game. And we're now at a stage where I feel like with Arsenal, Arteta has found, for the first time in his tenure, Arteta has got a proper core that, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 players know for a fact they are starting that game. They are a guaranteed starter. They play with each other. They know each other on and off the pitch like brothers. That, I think, could be what separates us from the rest. When I look at our competition, which is seemingly Man City and Chelsea, I don't think they've got that, or I don't think they have it to our level, to be honest. And Liverpool have lost their core, and you're seeing what's happening to them.
Do you, when you look at the game yesterday, it was built up, wasn't it, as Caicedo v Rice? Obviously, you know about the Caicedo challenge, but there was a tackle Declan Rice put in. I don't know, but in about the first 15 minutes, he saved the goal, basically, didn't he? He hooked his foot around.
Yeah, but he made up for it.
No, I know, but no, it was a great tackle, but the touch from Neto was class.
Yeah, but you've said that you think he's the best midfield player on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Go on, why?
I think that he's showing levels right now. Look, last time I was sat here, Paul Scholes looked at me in the eye and he said that Tonali was a better footballer than Declan Rice. And I don't want to disrespect Tonali here. I think he's borderline
or Paul
Scholes. Or Paul Scholes. I think he's borderline world class, if not world class. But I was actually very happy when that aired because I think it sort of showed how overshadowed Declan Rice's brilliance is. What we're witnessing week in, week out from Declan Rice, I think it's freakish. You are getting a player that is guaranteed 90 minutes, 3 times a week from August to May, constantly running up and down the pitch. There isn't a single skill, attribute, nothing that he lacks, in my opinion. He's always good for a goal. He scans the game. His awareness is unbelievable. Tracking back, his decision-making flawless. Our top assister in the league. Constantly.
He takes corners, that's why.
The best set piece specialist. Why is that a discredit to his game?
You've riled yourself a bit.
don't let him.
No, I'm not going to let him.
Let him.
Look, the thing is with Luke, when you make a good point, he likes to try and banner it off.
Okay.
You know that Declan Rice is the best on the planet, but the thing is...
He's not the best.
I don't think
you win, yeah. Who do you have? I mean...
I love Pedri. I prefer midfielders like Pedri and stuff like that. He's probably the best.
How many times a year do you watch Vitinha for you to say that he's better than Rice?
No, mate. You've replied, so...
No, but I understand what you said about Declan Rice, right? He is amazing. He does things that catch the eye. But in terms of a midfielder, I want somebody who's brilliant on the ball. I don't even think he's the best on the ball in your midfield. Zubimendi, for me, is the key to Arsenal. And the fact that he got an early booking yesterday kind of took away from his game. And as a Chelsea fan, that's what I was focusing on before the game. I think Rice is amazing, right? Rice is incredible set pieces. He embodies everything you want from an English centre midfielder. But for me, when I want a centre midfielder, I want Kevin De Bruyne. I want somebody who's the best on the pitch on the ball.
But
I think
that's a little bit. We can all like different midfielders, and when Adam said Pedri, that's, but I'm Vitinha, you just mentioned, but completely different players. So everyone's got their own strengths and weaknesses. But when you talk about Declan Rice, I've always said this, I feel like I'm watching Roy Keane, that type of player who can almost do everything. We sort of have midfield players now, don't we? We say, okay, he's the deeper one. he's the creative one. Or, you mentioned Zubamendi. Okay, his job is to sort of, like, almost like what Busquets was, sit deep, get on the ball, get the team playing. So you like your midfielder like that. Somebody else likes a certain type of midfield player. But I think with Declan Rice, that's the best way I could describe him, where he feels like a Roy Keane to me, where he does all of those things, really. He just looks power. I never feel anyone can run past Declan Rice, even when someone tries to dribble past him. It's a bit like that when I used to watch Roy Keane. Stevie was like that. They had this power in this frame.
He's the most unbelievable athlete, though. I feel like you don't...
I think Declan Rice is fantastic. I'm just trying to throw out other midfielders. I don't think he's the best in the world. I think he's arguably the best in the Premier League. Would you take Jude over him, or from an England fan
I class Jude more as like a number 10, really.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the point. That's a really good point, because when we talk about midfield players, and we go to that debate, don't we, always, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, it's almost because we saw them as the goal-scoring ones. We see Keane and Vieira and Petit as almost like, no, they're just like centre midfield players. Do you understand what I mean? And there's like almost different midfield players now, because there's 3 players playing in there more often than not, isn't he?
Is Declan Rice caught up in between being, like, he's not an out-and-out attacking midfield, he's not an out-and-out sitting, he's kind of just caught up.
I think he's whatever the he wants to be, if I'm honest. He is our midfield. And people also underestimate the best ability being availability. And
yes.
He is always available. The past week we've just had, he played the whole game. Spurs, Bayern, Chelsea, didn't stop running end to end, creating chances. Good for a goal, like I said. We underestimate how important that is. And also, when we don't have the ball, he is our leader without the armband. He's the one communicating with every player. You stay here, you go there. He is our captain. And like you said, it's like a Roy Keane, but people don't like to admit that because it's today's day and age. Everyone likes to look back. But what we're witnessing right now from Declan Rice, I think is revolutionary.
Oh, no. That's you've gone way too far. Revolutionary.
He's on track for a BALON d'Or. If we win the league, if we win the league and the World Cup,
I was having everything.
That's a big if.
That goes straight in the thumb now.
Arsenal favourites for the league.
I understand what you're saying,
World
but
Cup. Declan Rice.
Revolutionary is ridiculous. Like Jamie played with Steven Gerrard. I'm sorry, I love Declan Rice. He's not. He couldn't lay Steven Gerrard's boots, and I think Declan Rice is amazing for today's day and age. He couldn't talk to Paul Scholes. He couldn't talk to Frank Lampard. He couldn't talk to any of those midfielders.
I think the midfielders you've just mentioned there, they've all won big trophies, and I think they've all been Player of the Year. So I think Kevin De Bruyne's been perfect Player of the Year. Stevie has. I think Roy Keane has. I think if Declan Rice goes on to win those trophies, what you're saying there, I'm not quite sure about the BALON d'Or, but I could see, if Arsenal win the league this year, I think Declan Rice would probably be seen as the guy who's not won them the league, but I would imagine he would get Player of the Year, I would say, Declan Rice. So then that does put him in that conversation with those midfield players. And I do believe Arsenal probably will win the league and Declan will get that trophy. But you've just mentioned before, Matt, about Arsenal have only lost 1 game this season, so they've had a brilliant season. Everyone thinks they're not head and shoulders above everybody else, but a level above this season, certainly with the squad as well. Does it worry you that you've had such a great start that you're not almost further ahead and there's still an awful long way to go? Does that sort of worry you and nag you at the back of your mind? Because I don't think City, Liverpool or Chelsea have been that consistent. They've all dropped points and lost really poor games where you wouldn't expect them to. So is there almost that nagging doubt that you wish you were another sort of 4 or 5 points further forward?
I'm not worried. I don't think that the word is worried. Maybe if you look back on the patterns, like Luke was saying before, there are patterns of us slipping up. But I'm not worried in the sense that we've ticked some of the toughest places this league has to offer off the list. We've been to Old Trafford, been to Anfield, been to St James's Park, been Stadium of Light, going to Villa Park next week. We battered Spurs at home. We played City at home. City have been very inconsistent away from home. Chelsea have been very inconsistent at home. So I'm looking at us and our discipline and our consistency, and I think that it's a level above everyone else around us. I'm not discrediting Chelsea, were superb yesterday, still couldn't beat us. City, superb at our place.
10 men.
I think
I understand.
11 against 11, they win.
But they still couldn't beat us. I understand. I'm not saying that they should have with 10 men, but they couldn't beat us. City were superb when they came to the Emirates, still couldn't beat us. And it's also, I'm sure we might come onto it in a little bit, it's also the depth is just unbelievable. I know yesterday didn't go as planned. We weren't, it was probably our worst performance of the season, but we didn't have our main centre-backs, both of them missing, and we've got Hincapié and Mosquera playing together for the first time in the league. I said to Luke beforehand, what happens if your two centre-backs get injured? Who have you got to come in? Ake and Stones. Would you back them to go to Stamford Bridge and take 3 points? Probably not.
You didn't take 3 points.
No, I understand.
I'm looking at this Chelsea team. I'm looking at the fight that they showed last night. Like you said, went down to 10 men. And this is Arsenal team who, again, Arsenal are the most hated team in the Premier League right now, but we all have to admit they're the best team in the league. They're probably the best team in the world. And so for me to see my Chelsea team go up against that team and show some heart and desire after going down to 10 men, it showed me that on our top level, at our top level, we can compete with anyone. Everyone wants to dismiss the Club World Cup. But we dismissed PSG like they were nothing. It's the PSG that turned over Villa, turned over Liverpool, turned over City, turned over Arsenal. They knocked you out. They knocked everybody out. But we beat them 3-0. And then we look at the game against Barcelona again. With Chelsea, there seems to be a post-mortem. After they beat these teams, there's almost like, oh yeah, but PSG were knackered. Oh, but Barcelona aren't that good. Oh, Arsenal were depleted. But maybe it's just Chelsea making them look that bad. And so I look at this Chelsea team and I'm seeing something, and I know you're famous for saying that Chelsea should stop signing players and players should stop signing for Chelsea. But from your point of view, do you feel like there's evidence that this is working now?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to clarify this statement. It's got me a lot of numbers on TikTok with Chelsea fans. I've had this frustration with Chelsea for a few years now. It wasn't, the point I was trying to make was if I was a young player and they just kept buying young players, but it feels like they just keep buying young players in the same position. So it feels like they've just got an abundance of wingers and centre-backs to me. They're the two positions. I'd be thinking, if I was a young player, would I sign for Chelsea? Because it almost feels like they buy another player in my position the year after. So even this year, you've signed, OK, let's go to the wing. So you signed Gittins this year. Who else have you signed as a winger? So you've signed Garnacho and Gittins. You've got another winger coming next summer from Sporting Lisbon.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? So the point I was trying to make, if I was a young player and thinking, right, where's my career going? Am I going to sign for Chelsea, this project? How am I going to be given an opportunity? Because they're buying another player in my position in a year's time. So where's he going to go? Where am I going to go? Yeah. So that was the point I was trying to make. And that's why when you look at how many goalkeepers you had on your books and how many centre-backs, and I've said this before about Chelsea, I might be wrong, but our other centre-backs feel of the same quality. I should add, I think Chalobah's been excellent this season. I think he's probably been your best centre-back, and he almost looks like he's stepped out of the pack there. Winger-wise, obviously, some really good players there, but there's a lot of them. So that was the point. Hopefully we can put that to bed now. That was the end of it. But I wanted to ask you, because I think Chelsea have been brilliant this season, but when I actually look at the team on paper, it doesn't convince me. But obviously, as we know, the game's played on the pitch and they've done really well. I actually think the star right now is the manager.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the manager. But what I used to say last season, it felt like he never really had a connection with the supporters. You would know that better than me. But I think the PSG win in the summer in the World Club Cup actually gave Chelsea fans belief, actually, we've got someone good here. He's gone up against PSG. He's gone up against Luis Enrique and took them to the cleaners. And watching them this season, the celebration after Liverpool, him at the fans, all that type of stuff, it feels to me like there's a togetherness between the support and the manager. Is that fair? Because I think he's really good.
Yeah, Chelsea more than any other club. There's football clubs that winning's not the only thing. You have to play a certain type of way. And those are legacy clubs in this country, right? Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United. You can't just win, you have to play a certain type of football. With Chelsea, it's almost the antithesis of that because of the way that we kind of emerged under Abramovich. It was a case of we fell in love with those enigmatic managers like Mourinho and Tuchel and Conte. It wasn't about the style of play, it was about the results. And Maresca's almost the opposite of that. He's a man that he's all about the nuances of football. He focuses on the X's and O's, and he doesn't really give the fans that feeling of emotion that we got from those other managers. But with Chelsea, when you win, we love you, right? And that's what's happening right now. With these big results, we are falling in love with the process. We're getting used to the process because before Chelsea, it wasn't the process, right? Buy the best players, win immediately, get the sack. Ancelotti won the double in 09-10, finished second the year after and got the sack. Like, Dean Taylor won the Champions League and lost his job in November. Like, we are a club of sacking managers, but I feel like right now under Blueco, it's a slightly different Chelsea, and it's a process that we have to get used to, but it's a process that Chelsea fans are now on board with, because we look at the team and you look at Reece James. You talk about Declan Rice being the best midfielder in the world. He wasn't the best midfielder on the pitch against Chelsea. Reece James absolutely bossed him, and that's supposed to be a right back. Look at Cucurella. He's got Lamine Yamal in his pocket. I know Saka got the assist, but he might be sitting there in there as well. And I look at my team. Like Cole Palmer, barely played the season, one of the best players in the world. Caicedo, one of the best midfielders in the world. Lamine Yamal, one of the most exciting players in the world. All of a sudden, I've named 6 or 7 players there that, in a season or two, will be the best players in the world. So.
Esteval.
Oh, sorry, did I say Lamine Yamal? Sorry. So we've got Esteval on the wing, who's absolutely unbelievable. And there is holes in this Chelsea team, but people talk about the defence, right? And I look at it in terms of individuals. I haven't got the names, but last season Liverpool ran away the league. Chelsea only conceded 2 more goals than Liverpool last year, and that's with a moribund defence, players in and out, Reece James in and out, Robert Sanchez giving away goals, and Chelsea was still one of the best defensive teams in the league.
That's probably why I speak about that. And you're probably right. You look at sort of the back four, not so much the back four. I think everyone here, when your team's going for the league or wins the league, you're always thinking of a certain type of goalkeeper, a centre-back, a centre midfield player, a guy through the middle. And probably besides central midfield, you don't seem to have those names. And that's why I go back to the fact that I think Maresca's getting the absolute maximum, if not more, out of the squad of players that he's got. But you're used to seeing Chelsea win the biggest trophies. You're still 6 points off the top, and obviously you're pleased because you're getting some great results in Europe as well, and Maresca's doing well. It's a young team. At what stage, as a Chelsea fan, do you become not pleased with being 6 points off the top? Is that next season where you go, okay, this is the season where we have to really go for it?
There's some Chelsea fans there right now, and that's because of the way that we have been built up. But yeah, I think next season's definitely the year, right? I can't go through all those players and say they're some of the best players in the world and then bottle out the title race next season. Of course, next season Chelsea should be challenging for the title, and in my opinion, winning the title, because this is a collection of young players that not only are some of the best players in positions, but are on those ridiculously long contracts. There's nobody coming in for Cole Palmer who's going to pay 200 mil. That doesn't happen in football anymore. Caicedo bought him for north of 100 mil. No one's coming in for him because the contract is so long. So next season's the year. But I point to a Chelsea team, and again, this is not me writing off this season, because I do think there is an element of not vulnerability of Arsenal, but you mentioned about the places they've gone and not lost, but you've played against, I know Liverpool struggling, but the 3 other best teams in this league, in Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea, haven't been any of them this season in the league. Mm-hmm. And so I do look at Arsenal and I see and Villa. And you play Villa next weekend, right? Yep. Not an easy team to play against. And so let's see, right? Liverpool looked out of it. But all of a sudden, with a win, they're only 3 points behind Chelsea. It's a close league this year, so nobody's out of it yet. And Arsenal, I think they need to be, by April time, clear of everybody to really win this league, because I look when Chelsea broke through 04-05. It was a team that was emerging, right? The reason why we were so comfortable is because we were clear of everybody by December. Look at Liverpool 1920, a team knocking on the door for ages. The title race the year before was legendary, but the reason why it felt so easy for them in that 1920 season is because they were clear of everybody. First 18, 19 games of the season, there was nobody challenging them. I think for Arsenal, if it starts to get hot around March or April time and Chelsea are still in it, I'd back us.
The only question that we have left after an exciting London derby is who's got the throne. I know, it had everything, red cards, expletives, a couple of players even getting into fights, but it left us with one overriding question right here on Numbers Don't Lie. Who still has the throne between these 2 world-class centre midfielders, Moises Caicedo, Declan Rice, Nico Cantor in the building? I love this because this is still the question that everyone wants to know. And Nico, what's your thoughts, just looking at this, about who is the better overall player?
Yeah, JD, we're splitting hairs here. I'm siding with Declan Rice, but we'll get down deep to understand why I'm siding with Declan Rice, but the distance isn't that much greater. It's just a shame that a red card was a definitive factor for the game this weekend.
I love it, because if we're going to break down and we're going to discuss it in terms of Rice versus Caicedo, as we enjoyed on Sunday, only for 38 minutes or so, let's break it down into the categories that we should be judging them on. Duels, of course, tackling, discipline, which is a key part of playing the 6 or the 8, passing, and then, of course, the most overall, which is the eye test. Now, we've given our ratings beforehand, right, so that they can come out throughout the production, so that throughout this, we can turn around and discuss in our own minds who who's going to be the most dominant. But just dive into the first one in terms of the duels. I want to know what your perspective is.
By the way, per category, we have 3 votes that we can split in each category. Up to 3 votes. We can only vote twice. We can only vote once. All right, let's talk about this duels, because duels, we can talk about a lot of things within this category, right? Aerial duels, duels on the ground, dispossessing opponents. It's interesting to see when you compare Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo. First of all, look at the different part of the field where they're covering. Declan Rice, his heat map is a little bit more complete throughout the field, but you see Moises Caicedo, you see darker portions of red in certain parts of the field where he's dominating the football.
I think what you're seeing is a difference in terms of the tactical adjustments too. Declan Rice plays the 8 position of the 3 centre midfielders in that Arsenal midfield. Sometimes you'll find him in terms of in this area here, that's just purely because of his engine and what he does. And then when you move over here to Moises Caicedo, of course, his whole demeanour, his whole job is to break up everything that's going in between the lines in terms of defensively for Chelsea. So you can see in terms of the comparison between their 2 heat maps. But why we love this is because this individual over here, of course, started off in the same position as Caicedo. He might have changed now and become more of an 8 because of the attributes that he's grown and developed. But the comparison between them in terms of their body of work is still comparable.
I think they both have evolved at their new teams. So let's look into each category, in beginning with these duels and aerial duels, where I kind of expect Declan Rice to perform a little bit better than Caicedo. Mind you, I think physically, Declan Rice has an edge here because he's taller, because he's bigger. So in aerial duels, this doesn't shock me, JD.
No, that wouldn't shock you at all. I mean, Caicedo's maybe about 5'10", giving him a push. Declan Rice is pushing somewhere close to 6'2".
Yeah, he's
so
there.
I can expect this, and especially when you look at the rest of his midfield, he would be the person that's expected to win those aerial duels alongside potentially either a Zubimendi or an Odegaard or even an Eze in there. He's the dominant force.
Okay, but then let's go overall just dual win percentage, right? This could be when it's a one-on-one and you're dispossessing a player. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the air, and I understand why Moises Caicedo is higher on this percentile. Well, because I think if there's one thing that I want Moises Caicedo to excel at, it's winning duels. Obviously, Declan Rice has this in his arsenal, no pun intended, I swear, I didn't mean to say that. But Declan Rice does a lot more things as well. Not that Moises Caicedo doesn't do it, but this is, I would say, his bread and butter, winning duels.
I want to actually give a call to action. Do you actually think this is a fair comparison because of how different they play now? Declan Rice, of course, we've seen him throughout his West Ham and even his early Chelsea days, would have been a very good 6. We've already seen that development. We've seen it in an England shirt. But he's very much changed into this box-to-box midfielder now who wants to impact the game in a completely different way with his pace and his power and of course, his passing range, which we're all going to get into. But overall, looking at the way that they actually play now, this doesn't surprise me. Looking at the way that Caicedo's only job in that midfield is to break everything up, to be a ball-winning tackling midfielder, and of course to pass them between the lines and help his team progress into the final third.
So I gave 1 vote each. I couldn't decide who was better because aerial, it's Declan Rice, but then duels overall, not necessarily all aerial, Moises Caicedo's better.
I think I gave the edge just to Caicedo just because of the responsibility. That is his main primary role within this team. And I think he demonstrates it and he does a lot of things that's excellent in terms of for Chelsea overall. When you look at now tackling and ball recoveries, let's move into that because this is a good comparison because we've seen a good body of work from both of them.
Yeah, and I mean, this is ball recoveries per game. Again, number 1 weapon for Moises Caicedo is recovering the ball, playing in a deeper position, or at least from a starting point. Yes, Declan Rice can roam into the defensive portions of the field, and yes, Moises Caicedo does often roam into the offensive portion of the field, but he's recovering the ball at a higher rate than Declan Rice. And to me, it's obvious why this gap is so big.
I honestly, overall, I'm a little bit shocked. The only reason why I'm a little bit shocked is because I would have thought, looking at the amount of ground and the engine that Declan Rice has, maybe his ball recoveries would have been a little bit higher. But it doesn't shock me in seeing that Caicedo is in the 86% when you're looking at the top 5.
And to be specific about this category, a ball recovery is a ball that's like a second ball, right? A ball that's played over the top, a defender, your own player or a forward heads it down, and who's picking up that ball, that loose ball and creating play? it's more often going to fall to a Moises Caicedo, where Declan Rice has other complements in the midfield. Now he has I was going to say Miguel Merino, Martin Zubimendi, excuse me, playing right behind him. Or maybe when Miguel Merino plays in the midfield, Miguel Merino's next to him. So this is tackles per game. This is, for me, Moises Caicedo. I mean, 94th percentile from the DMs in the top 5 leagues. This is why he's the best. He is elite. He is world class in this specific categories. You, me, 1-1, boom.
Bang. And you know exactly what you're expecting from him. This is why Chelsea paid a surplus of 100 million. This is why he's been touted across the world as arguably the best in this position as to what he's done. And when you compare him to some of his peers as well, overall, you can see that he has that very unique space that he finds himself in, where he's, of course, the tackles per game are going to always be high, but the recoveries per game are also very high. Declan Rice is good. And you know what's so interesting about this? This is really showing me the evolution in terms of his game. Maybe he's no longer seen as a 6, and because of Zubimendi, who you just mentioned there, he has less of the dirty work, as they call it, in the midfield to do.
That's exactly right. And the fact that both of these players aren't like in the upper right corner of this plot graph, it's because I think they have the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Players trending towards the right-hand side of this graph probably need to do a lot more dirty work on average than both of these players. So I gave Moises Caicedo the edge here.
And you know what's only, this is how you know this is live. I actually gave Caicedo 2 in the pre-production. Rice 2, but I actually would remix it now and actually give Caicedo. If you gave it to me again, I'd remix it and give, because of the respect, seeing the numbers and maybe seeing the body of work that he's done. But this is the next bit I don't think is going to be a question mark.
All right.
At all, right? The discipline. Now, we've seen Chelsea have had a problem with discipline this year.
Yeah.
Arsenal have been through their own trajectory in terms of discipline. But does it surprise you when you see the stats and sort of way up next to each other?
No, and can I tell you something? I kind of want my Moises Caicedo role player on my team to have these types of numbers.
100%.
Yes, I think there's a lot of value in having a defensive midfielder that's clean. But sometimes I want my center defensive mid to be nasty. I want him to break tackles and maybe break somebody in the process too, almost like he did this weekend. Obviously, there's a component of being overzealous. And I think Moises Caicedo falls into that category a little bit too much for my taste, but he's very young, and that it's a fine line that you play with, especially, let me talk as a Latino. This is what I love in a center defensive mid. I want him to be nasty. I want him to be a MF, you know, I want him to get at players. I want players to be scared of him.
So I gave it from the opposite perspective. I love the Latino energy. I love the fact that he's going to be tenacious in that midfield. But at the same time, I'm still requiring a fine line of discipline, because I've seen great defensive midfielders that have worn this Chelsea shirt, i.e. your N'Golo Kantes, i.e. your Claude Makeleles, that were able to just rein it in but still have the same tenacity in that midfield from a different perspective. That's the only thing that he has to develop in terms of his overall game.
You gave him a clean sweep.
I gave Declan Rice a clean sweep, because the only red card that I can honestly remember in terms of Declan Rice is the ill discipline, right? In terms of kicking the ball away. But that's an annoying aspect more than anything else. So now we've discussed in terms of the defensive aspects. I want you to dive into the attacking part, because this is the part that I think is going to shock a lot of people overall. Because you would naturally think, of course, as we just spoke about, the progression that Declan Rice has had in his game, especially from an offensive perspective, he will be head and shoulders above. But when you actually start looking at the passing completion and you see where these two players actually weigh up, Moises Caicedo is still up there, which is really showcasing his overall completeness overall as a midfielder right now. 92% is where he ranks up atop the top 5 leagues DMs. And this right here is a surprising aspect to you, Nico. Yes or no?
A little bit. It's just I'm questioning what type of passes Moises Caicedo is making versus Declan Rice. Moises recovers, short pass, starts a play, right? Those are good passes. He's very accurate in those passes too, but I imagine the risk-taking of those type of passes are less than Declan Rice. Declan Rice is probably taking more risky passes.
I like that. That means that you're basically saying Caicedo is more ticking over the possession left and right, whereas Declan Rice is having to make those progressive passes in between the line. Different roles, and this is the best part, because now we can dive into the long balls. And when you look at the long balls overall, again, another shocking aspect of it is when you weigh it up, there is a gap between the two midfielders. So now we're getting a full perspective as to the way Chelsea are playing and also Arsenal were dictating possession. And again, Caicedo leads in the passing department. Does that shock you?
This one shocked me a little bit more, but I'm thinking about it. How many long passes is Declan Rice playing per game? I would imagine Moises Caicedo's playing more because he has more space to play in the long pass, right? Because he is that player that is going to dictate, is going to construct that first play, that first outlet. It's either short or it's either long. I imagine he's hitting a little bit more long passes because he has more field in front of him, whereas Declan Rice is a progressor of the ball. He'll regain and he'll drive. I remember that one goal with West Ham in the Conference League. It was against Dinamo Zagreb, perhaps. I forget who it was against, but he picked it up so deep. And that was the first time where I really saw it. I said, whoa. He's got another aspect to his game. He's a big boy, but he drives and he makes plays. He finds teammates. He's very, very good at that.
Well, you're talking about aspects of his game. Yes, I love the fact that they're trusting him in those driving positions. His dribbling and his speed is actually hugely criminally underrated. But another aspect that he's actually pinpointed, and I use that word pinpoint on purpose, is his set pieces. Because when you look at his expected assists from set plays, Declan Rice is head and shoulders above everybody across Europe in terms of being able to deliver pinpoint on the money deliveries. Now, they can call them set piece FCs, but you still need somebody who's going to be able to do your Beckham-esques and put it on a plate for somebody. And Declan Rice is becoming, I would say, from a consistency aspect, one of the best in the world at doing that.
Well, he takes the corners for Arsenal.
Of course.
Of course, he's going to have a high XA, right? Expected assist. But you could take corners and it be a crap cross, you know?
Oh, we've seen a few of those. Don't beat the first man.
But the delivery is pretty incredible. So I give him the edge just because the types of passes he makes are different to the ones that Moises Caicedo makes. The thing is that they have compliments each on the field. Subimendi is a compliment to Declan Rice, and Enzo Fernandez is a good compliment further up the field to what Moises Caicedo does. Not that Moises Caicedo couldn't hit the type of passes that Declan Rice, but he's less often called upon to make that type of pass.
Well, the favourite part, the part that everybody dives in, this is where the nerds are called to action, the eye test, right? This is where we dive in. So this is your opinion and my opinion in terms of where they weigh up. And if they do reveal it, I have a feeling where you're going to go anyway.
I think you're going to hate me after everything that we talked about.
I won't. Because I see what's so interesting within this. You said it. You're pretty much defending the Englishman. I'm pretty much defending the... Oh, this is interesting.
Listen,
I call it a square draw because I do feel that it depends on the team tactically as to what's required.
Correct.
Right? And it does depend in terms of what Maresca wants from his team and Arteta respectively want from their team. So I think they're both world class. And as you said at the top of this, you really are just choosing between, what's it, apple and pears, as they say.
Okay,
right?
you're drafting a team for your five-a-side game.
I knew this was
and the group of players that you have in front of you have Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo, and the rest are your friends.
Yeah.
Who are you drafting
Wait,
first?
five-a-side? Five-a-side.
No. Let's go 11s. Let's go 11s to keep it the fair comparison. It's 11s, right?
Yeah.
It's all of your friends.
Yeah.
It's 20 players. No, 18 because you're playing in the game too. 18 players. It's you and me. And Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo are there in the group of players. And you got first pick in the draft. Who are you drafting first?
Okay, do you want to know why I would choose Declan Rice? Not because of his allegiance, not because he's English, not to do with any of that. Just because all of my friends are probably 6'2", 6'3" plus. So the set pieces would be absolutely, we would dominate. Yes, that's the only reason why.
Okay.
Yeah, but I love your eye test. You choose me your selection. Give me a reason why.
I'm choosing Declan Rice. I think he gives you overall a lot more. There's certain areas where Moises Caicedo excels, but in an 11, I need to choose one player. It's Declan Rice. One player first, it's him.
There's a reason the debate between Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo has become one of the hottest in modern football. Both are powerful defensive midfielders, yet their approach to controlling a game couldn't be more different. Rice plays like a general, calmly surveying the pitch, choosing when to break lines, when to slow the tempo, and when to lead a counterattack with a driving run. His strength is his completeness. He wins the ball, carries it forward, and creates chances. You can build an entire system around him without fear that he'll disappear when things get intense. Caicedo, on the other hand, is pure chaos in the best way. His game is built on energy, acceleration, and aggression. He hunts possession like a predator, snapping into tackles and pressing with frightening intensity. When a team needs a disruptive force, Caicedo feels unstoppable. But where Rice slows the game, Caicedo speeds it up. Where Rice dictates, Caicedo reacts. Ultimately, Rice stands out because he influences every phase of play. His physical dominance, positional maturity, and leadership make him the safer, more reliable heartbeat of a midfield. Caicedo is brilliant, but Rice is the player you trust to control a match rather than merely survive it.